Happy Thursday morning, everybody. I'm Matt Crow, sitting in for Chad Hasty. We're going to go right to the phones. Representative Drew Springer, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. How's everything going out in Lubbock?
Everything's fine, and I've got to ask you, have you lost your mind? You want to go to the Senate when you had such a great gig in the House? Now you want to go to the state Senate?
Yeah, there's times I think I might have lost it, but no, it is an exciting opportunity to be able to represent a different part of Texas. A lot of it's still the same, but still same values. But make sure that a lot of times people can sort of dodge every now and then one or two reps, especially if it's on a rural issue or something that's small and unique. A little tougher to do in the Senate, so I'm looking forward to getting the opportunity to go over there. And the good thing is you'll get guys like Dustin Burrows will have somebody over there. They punt the ball over to the Senate side, and I'll pick it up and run with it.
It's going to be a little longer walk, though, unfortunately. Now, you're from Munster, and tell us about State District 30 and the geography of that.
Sure. It would be the first time in history that a state representative will go to a smaller district. It's only 14 counties instead of the 22 that I currently represent. 4 of them are the same. That's Jack, Young, Montague, and Cook, and it picks up 10 other counties. Several of them are rural. You've got Erath, Palo Pinto, Clay, Archer, Wise County, but then you also have Wichita for Wichita Falls, and Grayson County, Collin County, Denton, and Parker County. You
mentioned the huge district that you represent now is a rural area, and of course 30 is going to be Senate District 30 will be rural. But tell us, I mean, what are the challenges that a member faces, whether it's in the House or the Senate and in the State House, when you're a rural representative, and we're so not, I wouldn't say outnumbered or outflanked, but let's face it, I mean, the balance of members are in and around urban areas, and they've probably never seen a cotton field in their life. How do you, when you're working on the floor, I mean, how do you kind of bridge that gap of knowledge with other members to explain to them what we face out here on a day-to-day basis?
You know, it starts with building relationships and having trust with other members, that you could share things and say, this is important to my area of the state. You tell me what's important to your urban area of Houston, and let me understand that. And as long as it doesn't go against my values, I can help support it. And it's really those relationships, because like you said, we're definitely outnumbered. You know, you can either count somewhere between 20 or 30 rural representatives. I mean, Harris County has 24 state reps. In east or west of I-35 is like 18. So.
All right, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to get into Representative Springer's past legislation that he's helped pass and what his thoughts are for the next session. You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show, and we'll be right back. We're back on the Chad Hasty Show. I have Representative Drew Springer on the line. He's running for Senate District 30 in an election coming up pretty quick. I think early voting starts on the 19th. Is that correct, Representative Springer?
It actually starts on the 14th.
14th, okay.
We are 10 days from early voting start and 26 days till the election.
Now, I mentioned you're from Munster, but you went to Weatherford High School, and I have a question for you. What kind of a Texas high school has a kangaroo as a mascot? How did that happen?
Oh, man, you know, it was definitely a great mascot. You know, it was unique, although there was one other Texas school that has it too, so we couldn't say we had the exclusive on it.
Let's look back a little bit into the last session. Of course, we had Senate Bill 3, Senate Bill 2. Those were the big gorillas, and you all were mighty proud of that. The vet school at Texas Tech, veterinary school at Texas Tech, a huge win. Teachers won last session. Students won last session. Taxpayers won last session. I don't know what you've got planned for the Senate, but give us an idea of just, you know, what you're looking at coming in, what committees interest you, and so forth.
Well, look, I've made a lot of my time in the House focusing on tax issues, and so I want to continue that. We have to find ways to reduce our property tax, especially on our homeowners. We need to be more of what the Republican Party is looking for when they talk about reducing and eliminating property taxes. I want to work on that. But I'll tell you, the new things that has popped up since last session, and I was always a strong advocate for the Second Amendment. In fact, yesterday I was endorsed by the NRA for this race. But I'll tell you what, with the defund police movement and the lack of respect for law enforcement and these marauders running around in cities, there's never been a time that we need to look and make sure our Second Amendment is strengthened as much as absolutely possible. So I look forward to working on that as well.
You're a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. You're a strong Christian conservative with the right to life, and life, begins at conception and ends at natural death. What do you see? As we have a battle coming up here in Lubbock with Planned Parenthood. They're trying to get their foot back in the door here, and we're not going to stand for it. But how do you see the right to life issues in the next session? Will there be any? Do you expect, or are y'all going to focus primarily on the budget and COVID and so forth?
No, I think on the life issue, we definitely have to move forward. I tell you, one of the best bills that we need to work on is what they call a trigger bill. We have 20 cases before the Supreme Court that could overturn Roe v. Wade, and we need to pass a bill that says if the Supreme Court moves, that we can immediately be able to go to that better pro-life position versus having to wait till the legislature comes in.
I like that. Now, moving on to another subject, the governor's actions and executive orders and so forth. And I'm not asking you to give them thumbs up or thumbs down, but there was a lot of talk recently. It's died off a bit about having a special session to review what the governor was doing. Do you think that's going to be a topic? I don't know if y'all are going to have time next session to do all this, but will that be a topic of discussion, do you think, on the Senate side anyway, as to the governor's powers and so forth, and how he exercised them the last several months?
No, it definitely will be. Most of the legislatures I have talked to think we have to address that. The original emergency declaration was built in the 70s, built from around floods and hurricanes, and so we definitely need to look at that. Have it to where there's 7 or 14 days. After that, maybe there's a 7-day extension where the legislature's already called in for a special, so we can address these things.
We're talking to Drew Springer. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because while Greg Abbott's got a great heart in trying to do the right things, he needs the input for everybody who represents the whole state. And it scares me to death to think that one of these days, and hopefully not in my lifetime, we have a Democrat governor, and they want to use climate change as an emergency order and shut down fracking pipelines, us being able to drive our trucks. And those are the kind of things that they'll do.
We're talking to Drew Springer, who is running for Senate District 30. So those of you out there who live in 30, I want you to listen very closely. The election's coming right up. This early voting starts September 14th. You've got to pay attention and not miss the early voting period. Drew, what as far as your views, you were talking about law enforcement a minute ago. When we watch television and we see cities like Portland and Seattle basically letting anything goes, and the police chiefs are not backed up by the district attorneys, they're not backed up by their mayors, they're not backed up by their city council. Why would anybody in their right mind even want to be a police officer? And how do we make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen here in Texas, that we just unilaterally we give up and let the mayhem continue?
We will find solutions to make sure that doesn't happen in Texas. And, we talk about it right now. DPS troopers are being pulled out of Lubbock, out of Wichita Falls, out of Weatherford, sent to Austin to do the policing that the police aren't doing. We need to bill Travis County and Austin for those. My son just graduated in December with law enforcement degrees, about to go to the academy. It's a scary time to think the way folks disrespect our police officers, and we've got to build that respect for law enforcement back into the population. You mentioned,
I mentioned actually city councils and county commissioners and DAs. There's been some shenanigans with some of the tax rates, trying to get around the 3.5%, the rollback election, and they're claiming that the COVID was a disaster and so forth. And it seems like there's a county here and a county there trying to futz around. How do we stop that? Do we just say, look, we passed SB 2, the law is the law? What enforcement mechanism do we have to make sure that the county commissioners and mayors don't get around it?
No, I think we lean on the Attorney General to make sure that the interpretation is the way we intended it to be. And unfortunately, if they found something in there that is, then we get to come back and fix it. And that's a lot of times, even with HB 3 and SB 2, two major pieces of legislation. inevitably you may have a few tweaks you have to do there. And that's one of the important things for SD30 is finding a senator who understands what we have done in the past, what the issues are going forward, whether it's prior legislation or understanding water rights, eminent domain, annexation. And there's so many things we have worked on that we need to make sure that we have a senator who understands those issues and shares the values of its district.
Thank you, Representative Drew Springer. He's running for Senate District 30. Check your calendars, get on the computer, find out who represents you. If Pat Fallon was your state senator, you want to vote for Drew Springer. That's who's going to be running. And Representative Springer, good luck in your election, and we'll be anxious to talk to you after your victory.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.